Today, I am going to get super transparent and share something that I carried guilt over for years in my business. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Hello, pet lovers, and welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. I am your host, April Hampton. And as always, I am so honored that you're here. So thank you for listening. Today, I am going to get super transparent and share something that I carried guilt over for years in my business. But before we get into that, let me paint the picture. In case you're new here or missed earlier episodes, I started my pet business as a side hustle, just a way to bring in some savings while I figured out my next move after leaving the corporate world. And when I left that world behind, I made a promise to myself. My promise was that I would never, ever again do any kind of work that didn't light me up. Right? That didn't give me a sense of fulfillment, that didn't bring me joy. Yes, every line of work, no matter what you do, is going to have those things in it that don't bring you joy, okay? But overall, it had to bring me joy. It had to bring me more joy and light me up more than it dimmed me, let's just say. And, let's just be honest. Anything involving dogs has always lit me up. From rescuing, training, learning about dog psychology, caring for, or even just kind of communicating with them and finding new ways to do so that are effective. That's just been my happy place my whole life, actually. And I remember living in California, and I lived in an apartment. I was a broke post-college student making, entry-level wages, working 2 jobs, pretty much 70 to 80 hours a week. I don't even know how I did it now that I look back. And I was never home. So there was no way I was going to have a dog. I wouldn't do that to a dog. But as the years went on and I was able to get more stable and take on just one full-time job, I felt myself really longing for a dog. But again, I still couldn't do it because I was like, where am I going to walk it? Because outside my door was nothing but concrete everywhere, everywhere I went. And there was a school across the street, but they didn't even have a grass yard. It was all concrete. So I didn't get a dog, but that was one of my higher reasons, not like the main reason or the reason, but it was definitely up there as one of my reasons as to why I wanted to move back home to Ohio, because I knew here it would be more feasible to have a dog, and I really missed having a dog. So I came back, and I didn't get a dog right away, but I did start working with animal shelters right away. So, that's just my happy place. It's where I've always been. So when I discovered, or actually a friend told me about rover.com, I was like, what? What's this all about? Now, I know there's plenty of controversy out there about rover.com. Okay, I get it. But this was back in 2019. I'd never heard of it. I had no idea of any controversy. I don't even know if it had controversy yet. It was still pretty early on, I want to say, but I'm not sure. And so I was like, well, what the heck, while I kind of work things out over here on this, career path that I'm trying to create, I'll just do other things that I absolutely love, and I'll save up some money that way. And, I don't have to do it full time or anything. Boy, did that turn out to be the irony. So I signed up just to see if I'd enjoy it. And of course I did. Okay, that was a no-brainer. Now, fast forward 3 years later, and I had gained, I don't know, about 30 pounds. I rarely meditated anymore, which used to be my daily ritual, like the first thing I did after I woke up and got my coffee and let my dog out to potty. And I was deeply, beyond burned out. I had poured so much of myself into this business that I loved, I stopped taking care of me. And yet, I still felt fulfilled every single time I helped a shy, anxious, scared little dog go from like frozen or trembling and fearful to zoomies around the yard with all the other dogs in the yard. It was amazing to see them confident and shining and joyful and just relaxing and doing dog, right? That is so fulfilling to me. It's like I just couldn't stop saying yes to customers who had dogs that needed that transformation. It was really everything to me. And it was like a high that I couldn't get enough of. And it kind of still is, to be honest. But luckily, I don't get as many of those anymore because I'm so full and I don't take on a lot of new clients anymore. But that kind of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of patience. It takes trust. It takes intentional processes to reduce the dog's anxiety and build their connection with the pack, and with myself, really. And that thing, it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes a lot of intention and a lot of custom attention with the dog, right? So that's why I built my business on one core promise. And that was to meet every dog's emotional, mental, physical, and social needs every single day that they're in my care. When I started comparing my profile to others on Rover, so, I got going, I got moving, whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and edit my profile, make it better. You always kind of want to go back and improve it when you can. And one of those days I was doing that, and I started looking around at my competition and on Rover, and I started noticing something very interesting, because what I noticed is that I was a lot busier than most other people in my area. And the reviews were just flooding in for me, and all 5-star reviews going one after the other, just raving about my services. But I didn't see anybody else getting, reviews like that on their profile. Yeah, they were nice and they were good and they were positive, but I just did not see the overwhelmingly raving reviews that I got. And I'm not trying to brag here, y'all. I promise. There is a point to me telling you this story. But then I realized, I got looking at everybody's profiles, and I realized, wow, they're all essentially the same. Boring. Pretty much just boring, right? They would be, I love pets. I love dogs. I've had dogs my whole life. I've, taken care of cats and dogs my whole life. I'm a college student, and I love dogs and snuggling with dogs. I'll care for your dog like they're my own. Just yawn, 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 yawn. Gag me with a spoon. It was so boring, and nothing stood out. Nobody stood out. Nobody showed how their service was different or better. It was all just the same recycled phrases. And as a dog parent, if you're reading that, you're left wondering who is actually legit and who's just saying that to make a buck, right? But then when you looked at my profile, it stood out. And it stood out because I painted a picture for the dog owners. I gave dog parents a visual experience of what their pup's day would be like with me. From enrichment games to socialization with the pack, my safety protocols, and even the cozy sleeping arrangements that they would have. And all of the stuff in between. We have a routine. I put our entire daily routine there, our entire process. All of it was there for them to visualize. And in fact, I often offered things the owners themselves couldn't even provide, like daily group play or socializing their dogs, right? specialized attention based on their dog's temperament and needs. I didn't just make a promise in my profile that their dogs would be cared for like they are at home. I showed them. I showed them with pictures and I showed them with details. And that built trust before they ever even booked with me. And now, getting back to the beginning, where I said I was going to be fully transparent and what I felt guilty about for a long, long time. And that is over delivering. Okay, I didn't feel guilty about over delivering. All right, just so stick with me here and you'll see what I'm saying. But what I realized was that looking back after all those years, by the time I'd gained the 30 pounds, because I was so crazy busy for those many years in a row, I realized my secret sauce was in over delivering. That's what set me apart. A couple of years in, as my client list grew and my days got longer, I just couldn't keep doing more, though. I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep adding and adding and adding. You see, because I had this intention from the beginning that I was going to always continue to over deliver, which meant I had to keep doing more, right? But I had set the bar so sky high from the get-go, and I couldn't keep up with the pressure to top myself. But that, in the end, was not the real problem. That actually wasn't the problem. Even though that's what I kept telling myself while I was so busy, that really wasn't the problem. The real issue was my business was running me. I wasn't running my business. I was so busy working in my business that I had no time or energy left to work on my business. And until I took back the reins and hopped back in the driver's seat, I couldn't access the creativity or space that I needed to innovate again. I think I've mentioned it before. It's like, you get your best ideas when you're in the shower or walking in nature or, things like that. And true to its word, once I learned how to run my business more efficiently without sacrificing income, everything changed. I was able to create space to rest, to recharge, to reconnect with nature and with myself, and take care of myself again. And from that space, the creativity came whooshing back in. I don't know if that's a word, whooshing, but it is now. But I started adding fun mental stimulation games for the dogs. I began writing custom diet recommendations for owners who asked about my feeding routines for my own dogs. I had time to chat more during pickups and drop-offs, answering anything from training questions to, giving advice on how to get your dog to fetch or just to connect with my customers more. Tiny, tiny things, the little things, make the biggest impact. And here's the truth. Over delivering doesn't mean you have to do more hours of work like I was thinking it meant. It just means listening. That's how you know what matters most to your clients. One dog's parent might complain he never brings the ball back during fetch, but boom, you spend a few minutes teaching them, and the next visit you tell them what you did and how they can continue it at home, and they're like, oh, finally. They go home, they try it, and they come back, and they're like, hey, my dog finally fetches with me. How many times have you known, or maybe even you yourself got a dog because you love playing fetch with dogs, and then you get this dog or your friend gets this dog to play fetch and they won't fetch. They might fetch, but they might not retrieve. They might not bring it back, right? And here, what a magical gift you could give somebody just by helping them to teach their dog how to fetch and retrieve so that they can do it at home. That is over delivering. That is a little thing that makes a massive difference. that inserts you into the memory forevermore of that customer. Just last week I had this dog, I still have him actually here in my care because he's here boarding. And unfortunately, while we were playing fetch, he injured his leg. Now, I was lucky to have caught it on video, so his parents got to see the video and that I did not actually abuse their fur baby. Because you always wonder, like, oh, they're going to think that I abused their dog. But the parents are vacationing in Greece, and they sounded, well, as expected, clearly worried when I called them. But I went ahead and I set up a vet appointment for the next day because he just wouldn't put any weight on it whatsoever. And it was like, 4 hours later and he still wasn't putting any weight on it whatsoever. So I set up an appointment for the next day and I could only get an appointment at noon. So we had to wait half a day. Well, mind you, it was a daycare day for me. So I had dogs arriving well before noon. And when the dogs arrived, all of a sudden, poof, there he goes, walking on his leg, barely even limping, like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, what? But at this point, his parents are already, looking for flights home. Okay. Literally. They're already, so we got to take him to the vet still. We just have to, right? We have to get the green light. So I take him to the vet, and luckily the vet confirmed that it wasn't serious. It was just a strain, if anything. And still, when I called his parents afterwards to inform them and give them the update, which was, hey, just keep them chill for 2 weeks. Don't let them be too active. Don't play fetch. Don't walk them. Don't let them run and jump around a whole bunch, and just, kind of keep them calm for 2 weeks. Give them some of this anti-inflammatory and pain med, and he'll be good to go. But when I tell his parents this, they're probably imagining him in a crate, in another room, suffering. I asked, hey, how does he do in a crate in case that's the only way to keep him calm? And they were like, well, he's okay for like half an hour. And then you could just hear them like kind of the panic increased in their voice after that. And I was like, okay, so that's probably not going to work very well for the dog or the parents, really. And you could just hear the guilt, imagining him suffering in a crate while here they were, thousands of miles away in Greece, having a good old time, or trying to at least. So I made a choice. I got back home and I have this penned off area outdoors where it's basically what I call one of our safety zones. It's a penned area around one of the gates in the backyard. And I usually just use it, for entering and exiting. But it was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. The penned-in area was, half shaded, covered by a tree, and half sunny. And it was, a large enough area for him to hang out in. And all of the dogs were outside playing fetch, sniffing around, whatever. And I thought, well, gosh, he's just going to be miserable in there. His parents, want pictures and videos. And I mean, what am I going to do? Take a picture of his miserable self in the crate in the corner of a room when everybody else is outside in the bright sunshine? So I left him out there in that penned-in area, and I got him not a chew stick, antler. We love to use the half antlers because they have the soft marrow on one side to make it a little softer for their teeth and, not crack any teeth or anything. So I used one of those and put that in there, and he was like in heaven. I mean, of course, all the other dogs were like, hey, wait a minute, we want one too. So we had to distract them. But then, he got a little tired with that. So we found a squeaky ball. Thank God he loves squeaky balls. And he can just sit there and entertain himself for days on end with a squeaky ball or 2 or 3 all at once. So we just kept throwing him squeaky balls in his little pen, and he was just happy as a lamb. So I'm taking pictures, I'm taking video, and I'm sending it to the customer and stuff, saying, don't worry, like he's doing good. It's like he doesn't even realize he's in a pendant area. Like he was like getting all this attention and getting all these special, bones and stuff that nobody else was getting. He was in heaven. He was like, what pen, right? So he had no idea he was really separated from the pack. And the next morning, I woke up to this beautiful message from his parents thanking me and saying that they saw the videos and they finally felt peace. They knew that he was in the best possible hands. And they saw how happy he was, and they felt so relieved that he wasn't, just having to be stuck in this crate miserable. So that is over delivering. And it didn't take much. All it took was just listening. I heard the concern and guilt in these pet parents' voice when I spoke to them. And I just thought, what can I do that could ease their mind? And that's all it took. You see, if you think pet sitting is just food, potty breaks, and another couch to lie on, you're in danger of becoming the Blockbuster of the pet care world. Right? Blockbuster dominated for years. Okay. You had to go. For those of you that are so young, let me enlighten you. Back in my day, you had to put on shoes and walk to the Blockbuster to pick out from a limited supply of videos and rent a video. And then when you were done, you had to take it back in time or you got charged late fees. But then the world changed, right? Netflix came in, innovated, and over delivered. And the results speak for themselves, right? Netflix is thriving, Blockbuster's long gone. So the moral of the story is you always want to be innovating. You always want to be over delivering. You always want to be adding value, whether it's the tiniest little things like having a list of groomers that you have heard are good ones in the area and you can refer people to, or vets, to, helping their dog learn fetch, right? So the benefits of over delivering is pretty significant, I'd say, and well worth your time and effort. So let's break it down. All right. So you, number one, create raving fans, right? Raving fans. There's a book. Somebody wrote a book. I think the book is actually titled Raving Fans. I'm not positive on that, but there is a book out there, and it basically, that is the whole premise of the book. It talks about, as a business or as an entrepreneur, you want to create raving fans who stay for the lifetime because they just love everything you do. And usually it's because you're over delivering. That's one of the methods in the book. And we want to do that as pet sitters. You want to create raving fans who stay for the lifetime of their pet, right? Maybe even their next pet, right? And here's another bonus. Raving fans refer you to everyone they know, right? They rave about you to everyone they know. And so they end up being your free referral service. You don't even have to offer a referral fee or discount. Hello? Can you say low cost marketing, baby? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And the third benefit is your services become much easier to manage. Your pets become much easier to manage. Because when you over deliver, then you're making sure that the pets are completely fulfilled, that they're balanced. And when they are fulfilled and balanced, you automatically, by default, decrease their anxiety and their energy. You see where I'm going with this? So they are a lot easier to handle because they're just, a lot more chill. And once they get to know the routine, then it's even easier, right? Because they get the routine, they know what's next, they know what to expect, and they thrive on the routine. So it is just so much easier to over deliver and make sure the dogs get everything they need, and then they listen to you and follow you as the leader so much better as well. All right, so the fourth benefit I would say is kind of just a fun one. You by default, again, you get more social media content to post to your social media for more low-cost marketing, and to show people what it's like for their dogs to be there, what it's like for their dogs to experience your service, or their pets, however you do it, however type of pet sitter you are. But if you're including games or training tips and stuff like that, you can show them, and you can use that content at the same time for social media. And my last and most favorite benefit of all is, drumroll please, you can charge more. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, now don't get me wrong. Okay, let me back up. You're not doing this for the purpose of charging more. Okay, that is not, if you're going in with that intention, it's going to show and it's not going to work. Okay, you have to be genuine about this. You have to genuinely want to and genuinely over deliver. Okay, all right. It's not like you're just making a facade so that you can charge more. It's not that you're just halving it, half beeping it just so that you can charge more. It's just a byproduct of when you do over deliver. And that byproduct is that you can charge more. You can increase your prices a lot easier, right? How many times have you gone, okay, I need to increase my prices, but you're like, oh God, what if people aren't going to like it? Oh God, what if they leave me? Oh God, what if they think it's too expensive? What if they can't afford it now? And oh God, what if I'm higher than the competition? Oh God, what if they think I'm greedy, right? All those things go through your head, right? When you've been over delivering from day one that they've been with you, when you've been over delivering since the last price increase that you had, a year or 2 years or whatever it is ago, then people don't even bat an eyelash when you raise your prices, because they already see and enjoy and benefit from the value that you're offering before you even mention a dollar sign, before you even mention the price increase, right? So when you go to increase the prices, all you have to be is like, and since we last raised our prices, let me remind you that we have added training and dog walks and dog pool and whatever else you added, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, we've been getting a deal this long, right? I don't know if they'll think that, but you know what I mean? It's just so amazing because you're actually giving before you're receiving. And I don't know, that's just kind of what makes a perfect world in my little utopia. I don't know about you, but it's great when you can do it. So great, amazing benefit. And I'll just leave you with a final word. You can either choose to do the same old that everyone else does, every other pet sitter does, and you can blend in with all of them out there, and struggle to stand out and get people to choose you over the competition, and struggle to charge prices that you really deserve, that actually make your business sustainable. Or you can create something truly magical. A place that dogs won't want to leave and owners cannot stop raving about. Here At our little home boarding and daycare place, we literally call it, our little tagline is the happiest tails on earth. Because when you make your business feel like Disneyland for dogs instead of just another doggy couch, your growth becomes inevitable. Your client list continues to grow effortlessly. And your business becomes sustainable. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so I will leave you with that, my dear friends. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you truly got something out of this, and it can spark some downloads, some ideas, some creativity in your brain as to how you can stand out, be more unique, and always over-deliver. So until next time, happy tails to you. Hey pet lover, have you ever wondered why your business feels harder than it should? Are you trying to build your dream pet business but finding yourself constantly derailed? Here are a few signs that might indicate your thoughts are complicating things. You often find yourself caught in indecision. You're struggling with saying yes when you really want to say no. You're stuck on the feast or famine train and desperately want off. Or you've raised your prices but still have to choose between time off and income. All of these challenges are completely solvable. But let's face it, business can feel so much more difficult if you don't start thinking like the top dog CEOs do. And this is why I created a super short and simple cheat sheet to give you an inside look at the mindset of successful petpreneur CEOs. When you embrace these thought patterns and traits, your business will transform from hard to light and easy. Easy breezy, baby. And the best part? It's totally free. That's right, from yours truly, a gift from me, and you can grab it right now if you go to consciouspetsitter.com/cheat sheet. So let me spell that out for you. Conscious, CONSCIOUS, petsitter.com/cheat sheet. So don't wait. Download your cheat sheet now and start thinking like a top dog CEO today so that you can achieve the business results you've been dreaming of tomorrow.